Welcome everybody to Westbank Real Estate Investors. I'm excited about this episode. So I heard a lot about our guest tonight. So for you to come all the way from Baton Rouge, knowing you fighting 4, 5, 6, 7 hour traffic just to get a couple miles to New Orleans.
Felt like it.
Hey man, we appreciate it. But I feel like today's interview is gonna almost feel like a Netflix action movie because we're gonna get the opportunity to kind of walk through your journey of how you got started, moments where you hit very close to rock bottom and what it looks like to climb up from that, and even furthermore how you pulled yourself up, but now you're in a position to pull others up out of those certain type of situations. So I want everybody to put their hands together for Wyatt Graves. Is his first time at the Westbank Meetup.
Thank you.
So Wyatt, how did you even get started in the real estate space?
Oh man, you're bringing me way back. There was the first deal that I ever did. Well, it was by becoming a real estate agent. We kind of talked about this on the front side. And to really put things in perspective, when I was growing up, I grew up in a paycheck-to-paycheck family. The arguments that my family had were usually around money, right? And so for whatever reason, I felt like one day I needed to make a lot of money, and the more money I would make, the fewer problems I would have. And so I took that outlook. I mean, that was my outlook from as early and as long as I can remember. And whenever you set a goal, then you see opportunities to reach that goal. So I was on the school bus in high school, and I still remember the very intersection that I was at when I saw this gorgeous car that I thought was so fine cross through the intersection. And it was black, and it had a gold trim package. And this was probably in 1995. And I said, God, that car's so fine. I wonder what they do for their job. And it happened to be one of the parents of somebody that we went to school with. And I inquired what she did for a living. And what I discovered is that she was a real estate agent. And so I said, well, I need to look into becoming a real estate agent. What's a real estate agent like? What do they do, right? How do you become that? And one thing led to the next, so that once I graduated high school, I'd kind of put that goal off to the side for a minute because I wanted to move out of where I was from and go explore Northwestern in Natchitoches Parish. And it just so happened that the place that I would go study, the coffee shop, was next door to Cane River Realty. And this is before Zillow, before Realtor.com, really before cell phones were a big deal. So they would post all of the houses they had for sale in their storefront windows. And so I would pass by that real estate brokerage office to go study every day. And that fire was relit until such that I decided, you know what, I'm going to move home. I'm going to go get my real estate license because I can do this and have an adult job and make adult money without having a college degree. That's what I'm going to go do. So I moved home, became a real estate agent, and I took the 2-week school at Burke Baker. I crammed as much as I could and took that 3rd week to study, passed my exam the 4th week, and then started summer school at LSU. That introduced me to rentals and trailer parks. And a really integral part of my family is that my mom's mother, so my grandmother, who was once homeless as a young woman, that worked her way up into what I would consider wealth, did so by being a real estate investor. Literally managed a trailer park for free rent. Then that allowed her to just advance from one thing to the next, right? She bought some land, this, that, and the other. So fast forward, I'm a real estate agent. My grandmother and her sister both had some rental properties. And they knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. They knew that I wanted to be self-employed. And so my aunt, my great aunt, she said, here's the deal, son. I'll give you these 3 acres and this trailer for you to get started in your entrepreneurial endeavor. And I was a new real estate agent, learning all the ropes, and decided that I wanted to build and develop a trailer park. I was 19 years old. While I was clearing that land, I found a daycare for sale. And so my mom had previously opened a daycare in 1995. So about 5 years in, she had opened a daycare, and that business kind of changed our world. She went from making $5.15 an hour to making almost $10,000 a month. And so I was attracted to that. So I'm in summer school at LSU, newly licensed agent, clearing some land to do a trailer park, and I find a daycare for sale. I start negotiating the deal with the daycare and decide that I'm going to sell that property and use the money from that property sale to fund the down payment on the daycare. Being in real estate for just a short amount of time, I learned that I could sell 2 1.5-acre tracts for more than I could sell 1 3-acre tract. So I had the property divided, sold both for $50,000, got the down payment to buy the daycare, and then I too started making $10,000 a month with my daycare, also being a licensed agent, and that was my first real estate deal.
Wow. I think that's the first time a deal involved a daycare. Children that I heard of.
Well, and the other part of the real estate deal, to just tell you just how, luck is out there for you to have. This daycare was listed with a business broker, and I made my first offer to them. It was listed at $550,000, and I was 19 years old, and I didn't have any experience, and I don't even know if I had ever had my credit pulled at this time. But through being a real estate agent, I met connections. That's what really happened by being a realtor is I met connections. I met bankers. I met consultants. I met land surveyors. I met other people that spoke into my life. And so I made this offer to these people, and they rejected my offer, the owners of this daycare. And they said, here's what they brought back. They said, God, we prayed about it, and God said that it's not supposed to happen. Right? It's not meant to be. And so their listing expired, whatever, days, weeks passed by. And at the time, have y'all ever heard of the prayer of Jabez? Like in 2000, the year 2000-ish, that book, there was a book called The Prayer of Jabez, and it was popular. And I was reading that book, right? And, man, I was praying the prayer of Jabez every day. And I decided that I was supposed to have that daycare, right? Whether I decided or God told me, or a combination of both. So I decided that I would call those daycare owners and try to pick up where we left off with the negotiations. And so I did. They said, come meet with us. They reiterated the fact that they had prayed and God said it wasn't supposed to be. And I told them that I had been praying and God said that it was supposed to be. And that one of us is hearing the wrong message. So let's go back and pray some more and figure out which one of us is hearing from the Lord. They called me the next day, and they said, Wyatt, we believe that you're right, and we're going to sell you the daycare if you still want to buy it. And here's the deal that we'll give you. Gives me the chills. They were asking $550,000 for it, and they offered it to me at $420,000. And $120,000 of it interest-free for 10 years. So I went back to one of the consultants that I had met in the real estate world and said, hey, I've got this daycare that I can go buy, and I've got this land over here that I can sell for $50,000. Can you get me a loan for $250,000? And he got me a loan for $250,000. I had no cosigner. My parents did not walk that building until after I owned it. And I walked in as a 20-year-old with 17 employees and 63 kids and a $420,000 purchase. Wow. And that's how I got into the daycare business.
Yeah.
That was my second real estate deal.
And how long was it until like your next real estate deal? So that was you being a realtor, being proactive. You were able to find a diamond in the rough. So now what was the next?
A long time.
About how long, and what was the reason it took so long, you think?
Man, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't know that I wanted to be a real estate investor. Of course, I had bought that daycare. And I guess That was 2001 that I bought that first center. 2002, I graduated college. 2003, I bought another daycare. So I bought 4 acres and built a daycare on one of them. And then I took over another daycare in 2004. So I ended up with 3 daycares in a matter of a few months. So that was 2003 and 2004. And so then I was just submerged in the daycare world. I mean, that's just what took all my time, right? So I sold real estate on the side while I was a full-time child care provider. And that took me that was 2004. Well, just to go into the rest of the story, right? I was using my real estate sales to finance these daycare purchases and acquiring debt. Of course, we built one of the daycares from scratch. We were $140,000 over budget, and it opened in November. If you've ever had kids or started to find a daycare, you don't do that in November, right? So we opened with 4 kids, and we were in a $500,000 building, and we were bleeding money there. We took over another daycare that was failing in 2004 in January. It was rough too. And if you were in the market back then, Katrina hit in 2005, and Katrina saved a lot of investors in Baton Rouge with people that moved out over there, right? Builders were getting ready to go under. Real estate sales were failing, and Katrina came over there. The people that moved to to Baton Rouge, it kind of saved us, right, over there and gave us a shot in the arm. And then 2008 happened. And if you were in real estate in 2008, the bottom fell out. So 2008, 2009, the bottom fell out, but it not only fell out in real estate, but unemployment was high. People didn't have jobs, and if you don't work, you don't need child care. And people weren't buying houses, so my financing, my cash flow dried up with the real estate market, and then my child care business started to lose money as well. So we sustained that whole world. In the meantime, I got married. I had kids. I bought a mosquito.
Did your kids go to daycare?
My kids did go to daycare, absolutely. I bought a Mosquito Squad franchise in the middle of that because I wanted to do more stuff.
Wow.
And just one thing turned into the next, and finally in 2012 is whenever the bottom fell out for me again, and I went broke. I couldn't sustain it anymore. I needed a break. We had family issues with my parents and this, that, and the other, and so 2012 was just that. 2016, I'm rebuilding, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, I'm rebuilding. I'm really focused on being a real estate agent to increase cash flow like it always had provided me. The daycares were a build wealth play, and the flood happened. Well, when the flood happened, it took me back out, right? I went broke again, but in a completely different way. And
this is the Baton Rouge flood.
The Baton Rouge flood,
okay.
Yep, the Great Flood of 2016. Mm-hmm. And so 2017, I'm recovering from the flood. We bought a FEMA trailer and moved into it. We just gutted our house and just set it aside, right? Like I didn't have the bandwidth to fix it, and I didn't have the money to fix it either because so many things were just, everything flooded. Like all the new construction projects that we had, the cost to cure them from the flood exceeded the profit margin. When you're in production housing, the profit margin's not that high, right? So the flood cost more than the profit margin. So it was just a big disaster, right? And our subcontractors, their trailers and their tools flooded. So they couldn't even show up to come rebuild the houses. It was just a big hit again in 2017. So I took a job for 10 months planting dental assisting schools across the Southeast. That was awesome. Loved it. But in that space, I found Jeff Woods. Jeff Woods was the founder of the Mint Tea podcast and a mastermind. And at the time, he was the vice president of The One Thing, which is a productivity book written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. He introduced me to David Osborne, which is where I joined GoBundance. And that is what lit the fire to become a more predominant player as a real estate investor. And so that was 2018. So 18, 19, 20, I started to get back into the game. and then from there to where I'm at. So everything that I've got has really been acquired in the last 6 years.
What do you think was the one thing that kind of ignited you to go faster into that space? Because you got beat up. You went back to work, but you joined a group that kind of reignited your passion. So what was it? What was it? One thought, one action, somebody said at the bar. What was that one thing?
Well, a couple of things. One, I finally read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know that's a read for a lot of people a long time ago, right? So I finally read it as an adult. I always thought I knew what it said, so I never read it. But I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. Yep. And those two books together really gave me some insight to go out and build a business and to also grow my investments. But then exposure, right? One of the sayings that I say all the time is people don't know what they want. They only want what they know. If you really think about that, right? Like you can't want something if you don't know that it exists. And so joining GoBundance for me exposed me to so many things that I've never been exposed to before. But I was just the real estate agent, you know. I wasn't around real estate investors that had massive portfolios. And so David, one of the things he shared, right? He said, buy a house that cash flows $300 a month and get to 5 as quickly as you can so that if one of them's vacant, the portfolio can cash flow the whole thing, right? And so that was sort of what I started looking to doing. And the rest is history. I mean, this is where we're at, and we're full steam ahead.
So tell us about that first transaction while you were on fire to get back into the game. So we know that you're active as a realtor. What's that next opportunity while you reignited?
I had some single family hits, right? So one of the things that that transpired in those dark years of 2012 or 2010 to 2012 is my mom and dad got divorced, and my dad had mortgaged the family property that my grandmother had worked to acquire, right? So she had rental property, and when she passed away, she left some of that property to my parents. My parents put a mortgage on it. My parents then got divorced, and my dad said, I'm done. Y'all can have it if you want it, but I'm out. Well, my mom needed a place to live. My grandmother, my other grandmother, needed a place to live, and it was property. So I started paying the note for all that property to not stay, first to not lose that property. And that was single family units. So that was 2 houses, a shop, and some raw land. But that's also where I had put my FEMA trailer. So I ended up with those single family rentals, if you will, as a result of just taking over the note that my dad walked out on. So that was single family. And then we swung for the fences. It was an off-market deal, 48 apartments with some land out in the front of it that could be built so that some new units could be built on it. And I cold called him. And he didn't say no. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. So we started to cultivate that relationship and that conversation. We ended up putting it under contract, and some of the Go Bros told me that it wasn't a good deal, that it didn't pencil out. And so we backed out of it, and that was 2021. And then I couldn't let it go. I felt like I knew I felt like I knew that property would be a good deal. Yeah. And so I didn't give up on it, and I went back to those sellers the next year and put it under contract again. And we closed on that in November of 2022, 2 years ago this month. And then we built an additional 24 units on that road frontage, right? So we went from 48 units to 72 units. And did that deal. The following deal was 18 apartments and a 5,000 square foot house. Those people called me as a real estate agent to list it for them. And on that listing appointment, they told me what they wanted to sell it for, and I knew that number would work for me to buy it and hold it, not as an assisted living, but as a regular freestanding rental development. And so we put that deal together and bought it. That led to somebody cold calling me and said, hey, I know what y'all just did down there on Corbin Place. I've got 18 units. Do you want to buy it? Well, if the price is right, I do. So he said, let me call an appraiser. He called an appraiser. The appraiser gave him the value. It's the same thing we paid for ours next door. So sure, let's sign up and buy it. Well, that's 18 units with an additional 24 lots as well. And then that transpired to a 28-lot RV park in Boothville that we closed on last week. So all in all, it's 175 doors in the last 2 years.
And what did financing look like? Because in conversation, it sounded like it went really fast, but what did financing look like in reality? Was there some creative things in there? Were there partners brought in, especially on the new build side? So from what you just described, what was that experience like on the financing side?
So I would say everything we have is with some form of creative financing. On the 48-unit deal, Justin Donald is somebody that's in GoBundance. That's who introduced me to David Osborne. He has a podcast called The Lifestyle Investor. He's got a great book. I have followed his protocol. Like, if he thinks it's a good investment, this is the bullet points that it needs to check off. And so those are the same bullet points that I offer my investors. So for this particular deal, we bought the 48 units for $5 million. And I partnered with one of my builders that is a friend of mine. He builds, he's a home builder. I partnered with him so that he could build the units and I could manage the units. And so that's how we operate that partnership. But we went to the bank and got a traditional bank loan for 80% of the purchase price. Well, that was $4 million. And we got an investor to put up the $1 million. And the deal with that was we would let that $1 million accrue at 10% interest, delayed payments, and we would also give them 10% ownership in the deal. And so we're refinancing right now, and the way that it works is we've got 8.5 in it, and it appraised for 11.5. And at the 8.5, that pays our investor back his $1 million plus accrued interest. So we'll have no cash in the deal. We've never had cash in the deal. And we've got $3 million worth of equity in it. And after the refi, it'll cash flow about $20,000 a month. So no cash in the deal, $20,000 a month, 25 months later.
Good deal.
That's that deal. The second deal, I bought it, so we negotiated a sales price. And I increased the sales price to put $150,000 commission on the deal, and I think $350,000 worth of seller credits. And so we bought the deal with 100% financing, and I walked away from that closing with a $150,000 check. So no money in it, plus a $150,000 check that we were able to use to remodel that big house, which I now have as a co-living house. And then I did the same thing with the 18 units that we bought. So we bought it with no money down. I walked away from that one with a $272,000 check that I used as commission, right? I just put a $272,000 commission on the deal, and that's how I got it. So we're using that to front load the funding of the new builds. The RV park, we'll have 400 in it. It appraises for about $970. And stabilized, and so we were able to get it 100% financed as well.
Yeah. Talk to us about management. So you took care of the financing piece, but 175 doors all at once it was beautiful because it's cash flowing, but that's 175 families and even more personalities that somebody has to manage. So what does the management back office look like?
So I have a team because of the businesses that I'm in. So really zooming out high level, my team is I have a real estate brokerage. I still have a child care center. I have the podcast. I have a joint venture in a mortgage company. And so I would say my executive team is I have a bookkeeper. I have 2 executive assistants, and then I've got a property manager. I do have a virtual assistant as well, and then I have a contracted CPA and another contracted accountant that's part-time. Those people work for me full-time. And so that property manager is the showing agent, the leasing agent. My bookkeeper handles accounting. My property manager does some accounting. My partner does all the new construction build. We handle the maintenance, scheduling it with our subcontractors and things of that nature for the turnover. And between me and the 2 executive assistants, we manage all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't have 175 families yet because we're building the 24 new builds. Okay. And I just bought the RV park. Mm-hmm. So we're not quite at 175 active families. Maybe when we get there, we have to have more. That's to be determined. I do have an in-house on-site property manager for the 72-unit apartment complex as well. Okay. So that's a married couple that lives there. They've lived there for 7 years, and they take care of the day-to-day things on site at that property.
Yeah.
And they're a huge help.
How do you keep it all together? What does accountability look like for a team like that?
I wouldn't say that we have it all together.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that. We certainly have our own share of issues. What I would say helps me and helps my team. If y'all don't know about Dr. David Hawkins, anybody know about Dr. David Hawkins? He created this levels of consciousness chart, and so you can Google that. And it's a great framework to keep the mindsets of our customers and our residents where it needs to be, as well as our employees and our partners. And so the way that we frame that is in that level of consciousness map, there's this line, and everything below the line is below a score of 200. And it's the emotions that we all feel. And so I make a point to connect to God often, daily, so that I can stay filled and above the line. Right? So the emotions that are above the line are courage and neutrality and acceptance and love and joy and enlightenment, right? And so when I'm feeling anxious, well, anxiousness is below the line, right? So I can be aware that I'm feeling that and get above the line to go face whatever conversation I need to face, right? And I believe that life happens for us, not to us. So when there's heavy conversations, confrontational situations, right? I make sure that I connect to source. I'm above the line, and I go into every conversation from an open mind, an open heart, and with love, and it usually works out okay that way, right? Whatever that may be. It could be an eviction. It could be a collection issue. It could be terminating an employee. It could be doing a deal, walking away from a deal. I think that mindset goes a long way. And it is a superpower that I have is just being connected to source and approaching everything from above the line.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to talk about insurance. What's your mindset? Because that's been something that's been hitting a lot of our emotions right now, hitting our cash flow. So
for sure,
how you meditating on insurance right now?
Well, I'm going to go to another tool. Anybody familiar with the DISC behavior profile?
Yep.
So I'm a high C and a high D, which gives me a lot of reason to have anxiety, right? Because I want things perfect and right now. And so insurance is something that I've been able to dive into, and I could almost be an insurance broker. I could be an insurance underwriter because I'm asking 42,000 questions to my agents, right? And I'm looking at every way, shape, and form that I can save money. And I'm holding their feet to the fire. So one of my insurance agents, we went to renew insurance. Yeah. And it was going to go up. I said, I am not renewing it. I'm not going to renew it if it goes up. Of course, I probably would have had to, right? And I have a lot of these properties now with insurance agents. So, or with, I think that I am a good client for an insurance agent. How about that? Maybe that's egotistical of me to think that, but I have big goals, and I'm going to need a lot of insurance. So I need insurance agents to work with me. Well, I don't know how they did it, but they were able to give me credits on my insurance premium, and it didn't go up. this year when other people's did.
Right.
But they figured out a way to not go up on my insurance. And then when I bought another property, and that's one of the things that I think has been a great blessing to be this involved with properties, is that I have a lot of reps. I have a lot of iterations now, so I can compare expenses from one property to the other property. And guess what? That 18-unit apartment complex that I just bought, that insurance is $748 per unit, next door to the 72 units, which is $1,100 a door. Now, why is that? Well, it's a different insurance carrier, number one, but why didn't my other agent go to that insurance carrier? That's on them, right? So guess who's rewriting the 72 units right now? The new insurance company, and I expect to save $300 per year for 72 units. Right? It's $22,000, $23,000 a month, a year that just got added back to our bottom line.
Yeah.
So how is it that the insurance can be that different? And I'm convinced that insurance agents are overworked, maybe underpaid. I don't know if they get paid, but they're just checking boxes, right? And we're probably paying for coverage that we don't need. We need to scale back on certain things. Replacement cost is always subjective, right? I know they have formulas, this, that, and the other, but you got to ask, right? And look for every way, shape, and form that you can get it down or at least minimize it. And then look, we've had to go up on our rents to cover some of it, right? Those are hard conversations with the tenants. The property taxes in Livingston Parish went up 40% this year because they were suppressed due to COVID and this, that, and the other. So property insurance and property taxes have went up. So we've had to pass those expenses along to our residents, which is hard conversations, and it's the reality, right? So that's when we go back to the resident and we have caring conversations about it, right? And we say, look, we're going to have to go up on the rent this much money. How can we help you save that much money somewhere else, right? Do you pay car insurance? How much is your car insurance? I've got a great car insurance agent that's saving lots of our clients money. Let us get your car insurance rebid with a new carrier, and maybe we can help you make up for some of that cost, right? And we're referring our residents' car insurances to our insurance agent that's now saving the money that helps them afford the increase in the rent that helps us afford the insurance and the taxes.
Yeah. What's one of those 42,000 questions that you've asked that uncovered some savings that you know now for each and every property? I'm going to ask this question because you had success.
The replacement cost requirement and really scrutinizing what they're saying is the replacement cost, how they're getting to that replacement cost number, and the percentage of that in which we have to put insurance on.
Well, what's the example? So they quoted you replacement costs, and what was the savings after you asked that question?
It's formulas. So those insurance companies have formulas, and different insurance carriers have requirements of a percentage of replacement cost. So some insurance companies require you to have 100% of replacement costs. Not every carrier requires that. That's the question.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, are we really in a challenge with insurance, or are we just not asking the right questions?
Oh, both. We're in a crisis we're in an insurance crisis in our state.
What you mean?
Well, from the insurance companies don't want to come to the South Louisiana for two reasons. Number one, we have storms, and number two, it's easy to get sued, right? So we're a very litigious state, and so insurance companies have to fight that and or charge for that. And then two, we have hurricanes, and it's going to, the insurance companies are going to have to pay out, right? So I think for both of those reasons, we don't have a lot of competition, and we don't have a lot of diversity in the risk, right? The insurance companies cannot mitigate their risk by saying no, and there being another insurance company to provide that coverage for us. So when you have a small amount of insurance carriers to provide all the insurance, they have all the risk, and they're going to price that into that. So we've got to get some new carriers to our state so that there can be competition and that there can be diversity. We can spread the risk out and lower the premiums.
Yeah. So for the investor that's building their portfolio right now that doesn't have economies of scale, kind of like your team does right now, how could they play defense on their purchases? What would be your advice for them to protect themselves and kind of brace up for? Because you're right, we will have more hurricanes. So if I'm making this acquisition, I'm projecting insurance to go up. Am I buying insurance at a lower rate and doing projections? How would you advise them to play defense and kind of protect that cash flow?
I have to tell you what I've been taught, which is make your money on the purchase. I just was sharing that with Bo at the beginning of the meetup tonight. We only buy at a discount. We're not going to pay market rate for anything. We got to buy at a discount. We want to have forced appreciation. We want to buy where the rents are lower, where we can increase the rents because they're under rent, and or where we can remodel or add new units to the property, right? But you got to buy at a discount, and it's got to cash flow with underwriting some of those increases along the way. We get a real insurance quote and a real tax quote as part of our underwriting. We don't just estimate. Of course, it's easier now because we have the properties, and I know that property is running this much for insurance, it's running this much for property taxes. But we get hard quotes for our insurance and our property taxes, and we are going to underwrite for some increases along the way. Mm-hmm. And it's got to cash flow. Yeah. Right now, our property that I'm telling you is going to cash flow around $20,000 a month. It's $270 some odd a month per door after all expenses and after debt.
Yeah. Got going back to mindset. So for the investor that does have the portfolio and insurance did go up and not a negative cash flowing, how you kind of either coaching people in your network, or what's your advice to the people that are in the middle right now of coming out of pocket to cover that debt service until we can figure this insurance crisis out?
Well, I'll tell you this. The first thing is, if you believe that life happens for you and not to you, you can't be selective in when you apply that statement, right? Like it's either all or nothing. And so if you find yourself in that situation, right, you have to look for the silver lining, right? It's got to teach you something. Something good's got to come out of that. And so that's one thing that I'm going to say in terms of the mindset. Yeah. Second thing is going to be, can you afford it, right? Like can you afford to cash flow it until it begins to cash flow again? If you can't afford it, well, then we have to look at exit strategies, partnerships, and things of that nature, right? That would require you to have a plan as well. When is it going to not bleed, right? I don't think insurance is going to come down anytime soon. So rents have either got to go up or rates have got to go down so that we can get to a refinance. So you've got to figure out some kind of plan and then work towards that plan. Figure out your runway. Be very tactical, right? Is it 12 months? Is it 24 months? And how much is that going to cost? Can I cash flow it? And is the juice worth the squeeze if I keep it? Or do I need to just unload it? Right? What's that look like? A property may not cash flow, but you might have equity in it. So sell it to a cash investor, right? Sell it to somebody else that could be better positioned, and you just move on down the road. Yeah. Everybody's situation is different, right? And so you gotta know that what your properties are doing for you is in alignment with where you're trying to go. If it's not, we need to make some pivots.
Yeah. I think that's good advice. So how does, from your experience, tax strategy kind of fit into that dynamic? So if we're trying to find a silver lining with insurance, has there been some tax offsets that you stumbled across that has kind of make this easier to digest?
I would say no, from my personal perspective. I don't like operating at a loss just to save taxes. No, you got to save taxes in other ways besides losing money. Yeah. No, I would not find the silver lining in not paying taxes because the property's bleeding.
Absolutely. And if you had 42,000 questions for the insurance guy, you probably had double that for your tax guy. What is one of the things that you uncovered tax-wise with your portfolio that investors either have never been exposed to? We talked about exposure earlier, either a strategy or just some information that could help investors with their portfolios?
Well, assuming everything is cash flowing and you're doing, you've got a great portfolio, a couple things that I would say. One, cost segregation. You got to do a cost segregation study and accelerate depreciation. Of course, that's being phased out. Maybe it's going to be phased back in now. But that has saved us taxes for several years by buying these properties and using depreciation to offset our income. The other thing that we do is I've got 3 kids and I'm self-employed, and so we put our kids on payroll and we pay them, and then the money that they earn, we have bought a whole life insurance policy and also fund an IRA with them. So we max that out so that we can pass that money on to them, and that helps also, right? Those are the 2 biggest tax strategies that we use in my family.
Yeah, is one of the kids one of those contracted CPAs you talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. No, they are marketers.
Yeah.
They're marketers.
On paper, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we put them on Facebook and market them all the time.
Yeah, good stuff, man. And that's the rental side of things, but you're on the development side also, right?
My partner is the main developer, but
Okay.
yes, we're doing development deals.
Okay. So is there anything different that you're seeing on the development side now than you have in the past? Will we, for the developers, the flippers, what does that landscape or environment look like for you right now? Are you confident, or what are you seeing?
Well, in Livingston Parish, there's a moratorium on development.
What do you mean?
The parish has shut it down, so you can't subdivide property right now. It's the same thing in Ascension Parish. So that's a big thing that is taken out a lot of opportunity. So you have to go inside the cities where they are excluded from the moratorium. So we've done our apartment deals in Walker because in the city of Walker we can do those deals. You just can't do them outside of the city limits in rural parish, unincorporated parts of the parish in Livingston. So the moratoriums have been tough. That's been tough, number one. And then number two, the cost, just like any deal, finding the right deal.
Yeah.
So development is expensive. So finding the right deal that has margin in it is the second hurdle to try to overcome. We haven't really focused a lot on massive developments. Now, I've done some simple land subdivides where we took 5 lots and turned them into 12. No, 18. We took 5 lots, turned it into 18, and then we built spec houses on those lots. And that allowed me to get the lots at a really affordable price, and that's how we were able to sell our houses at an affordable price to sort of hedge against competition there because we did the simple subdivide on those lots. And we've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
And looking for more to do that again.
Yeah. On the team is the same with the development side. The same CPA, the same property. That's the exact same team on the development side.
Yeah, with the addition of some realtors, right,
Okay.
that handle the dispo of our specs. I am getting ready to hire a social media marketing person. I'm rebranding my brand to a single brand and not 42 brands.
Yeah.
And so we're getting ready to do that. So I'm going to hire a social media marketer. I did just hire. We're on a 90-day agreement so that I can figure out what this looks like. But I just hired, for lack of a better word, an ISA, an inside sales agent. And really, that person is hired to help have conversations. So we still have our agents. There's no real official model that, right, the lead comes in, the ISA handles it, and then hands it off to the agent. This is an ISA to handle conversations with people that want to come work with me, realtors that reach out that want to come work in our brokerage, investors that want to come be an investor. He's been in my world for a long time, so he can talk my language, and he's professional, and he's young, and he's hungry, and so he can have all those conversations. And I have a saying that no closing ever happens without first having a conversation. True. And so if you want more closings, you got to have more conversations. And at my point, it's hard. I can only scale so much without bringing on extra people. And so right now, he's helping us have a lot of those conversations, and setting us up for those appointments and vetting even some potential residents to set up the appointments for them to then be converted to contracts.
Yeah. You mentioned you have to buy at a discount to keep this machine rolling. So what does acquisitions look like to have these opportunities to come into you to keep these reps up so high? What's that dynamic?
That's a good question. It's different from different. It's different for each asset class, if you will.
Okay.
So there are brokers that reach out to me and present deals to me. There's wholesalers that reach out to me and bring deals to me. The last 3 deals that we've bought, the sellers called me direct. I didn't even reach out to them. The sellers reached out to me. I think, right, if we're really going to get, spiritual or woo-woo, I think that living above the line, right, puts out positive energy, and it attracts positive energy. That's just, and you can't do it to get either, right? You can't manipulate that. You just have to live in faith and total vulnerability, and openness, and love people, and good things happen, right? So I didn't call those people. They called me.
That's true.
Right? Somebody called me this week with a daycare for sale. And I love the location. I can't believe it's the one, right? I'm excited about it. So I'm going to go look at it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then for direct-to-seller marketing, I am that high C behavior profile. So I've got this very intricate lead gen system that's drawn up. And I've got to get through marketing and rebranding my personal brand over the next 90 days. Yeah. And in the midst of that, we are going to start back up some direct-to-seller marketing for some land and wholesale deals.
Mm-hmm. Before we let you go, so with that team that you have, is there any level of team building or structure or systems that you implement in place to keep that machine rolling? Is it a systems-driven organization, or are we just flying by the seat of our pants every week with no meetings? How you guys kind of structure the team to keep all these pieces in place, at least try?
People probably think that we're very systematic, but I don't. I don't know that I ever will think that we're systematic. We have a daily, so for my executive team, we get on the phone every day at 8 o'clock for the most part. And it's a 30-minute huddle, which is designed for us to say, hey, check in. What's on the agenda today? What's on the agenda this week? Let's look at our calendar for the next 30 days. Are we planning ahead? What's that look like? Then that rolls into an 8:30 stand-up. Everybody reports to the office, all of our agents, our wholesalers, our buyers, our EAs. Everybody goes to the office, my mortgage person, my bookkeeper, and I usually give a 15 to 20-minute pep talk. If y'all don't have Pep Talk as an app, it does cost maybe $3 or $4 a month, but it's fire. It's so good. But I am obsessed with learning. So I listen to podcasts and micro tribe calls from GoBundance, Audibles, and I always have a personal story or something that I'm thinking about that I share with my team at 8:30 to 8:45 to just get everybody's mind right.
Yeah.
That's the most systematic thing that we have. Now, we're supposed to do some other things based on the system that I have designed, but we've not been consistent in the most recent weeks doing that as we are goal setting and just really getting clear on what 2025 looks like. Yeah. And then Wednesdays, I meet with my CPA, my bookkeeper, and my EA, and we go through everything that's happened that week prior. Okay. They bring all their questions and answers, how we're going to chart something, book something, code something. It's my finger on the pulse with everybody every week for an hour. And then that's evolving, right? Because now I have these properties that are stabilized and we're refinancing our deals. And I should add that I have just brought on a CFO. Now, he is not full-time, but it's so necessary for him to be full-time. And we are fired up about that position because he's got the skill, the know-how, the drive, the hunger, all those things. And that's a very new position for us. But going into next year, that's going to be a really pivotal person that we add to our team. We are also, technology is a big that's a big thing, right? We just decided or discovered. This will tell you how we don't have systems. We just discovered that we're spending about $70,000 a year on technology like DocuSign, Follow Up Ball, Sisu, Resimply, all this. It's not
just
crap,
like subscriptions,
but it's software. It's like filing cabinets that we have to pay for now by the day. And so finding the way that our conversations and our leads and our appointments can all be uploaded into a dashboard for those stand-ups is what we've been working on, so that we can have a daily dashboard and scorecard to know this is how many leads that came in, this is our speed to lead, right? This is how many people are winning, this is how many the conversion rate, because all that's got to be measured 10x next year if we want to continue to scale at the rate that I want to scale. So getting that system dialed in is important and necessary. We're working to do that as well.
And we getting ready to take questions from the audience, but one more question. So now, what does 2024 Wyatt? What advice do you give to that LSU 2000 and something Wyatt? What advice are you giving them?
The same thing that Jeff Woods gave to me.
What's that?
Figure out where you want to go, and then get into a relationship with people that are already there. Done, right? Because Jim Rohn said it, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. You want to be a multimillionaire? Go get in business or go get around multimillionaires. You're going to become a multimillionaire. You want to have inner age of a 20-year-old? Go find other people that have inner age of a 20-year-old, and you're going to get more healthy, right? You want to be a great husband? Get around people that are a great husband. You want to be a great dad? Get around people that are great dads. You truly become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. I should have gotten clear on what I wanted to do faster, and then put myself around those people sooner. That's what I would do. Right now, I'm in a season of leveling up. I'm looking for my next set of mentors that are decamillionaires, right? Centimillionaires, so that I can get around them, because I want to do that. I want that. So it's leveling up the conversations and the people around us.
Last question from me. You said you have 3 kids. I have 3 boys. What are you doing to manage work life to give attention to them? And I heard you say that when it's personal, it's universal. So somebody else in the room has kids and has the same question. What are you doing to manage time to make sure that you're giving enough to your business and giving enough to home?
That is that's a long answer.
Okay.
The number one thing that I would say is you cannot be held accountable if you don't have a clear goal, right? So you have to have clear goals if you want to be held accountable. And accountability is one of the most important things to make progress. So you have to have a clear goal. So I was sharing this with Bo at the beginning of the meeting tonight. How would you know if your relationship with your kids was successful next year? How would you know that, right? If you put yourself December 31st, 2025, and you said that your role as a parent was successful, how would you know? What would have to be present? And you should spend time getting clear on the answers that come to mind. And then once you find clarity around that, then you plan it, right? You put things into your calendar. So I was telling Bo, I'm here tonight, and I worked a long day on Tuesday night. So we know that for me to be successful as a parent, that I have to spend quality time with my kids. And so knowing that that's an activity that leads to the result that I want, I have to make sure that I schedule that activity. So last night, it was a conscious conversation with my wife that said, hey, what time are all the kids going to come home for practice and get off of school? 6:30. Everybody will be home. I'm going to be home at 6:30. Phones up. Let's eat dinner around the table, hang out in the backyard, watch a show, but be present until we go to bed. We did that last night, right? Because I knew I was absent the day before. I knew I would be here tonight, so we did that, right? Janae and I know what this weekend looks like, and we know, like right now, I know where I want to be with my kids. And I know from their schedules and my schedule that we haven't had enough deeper connections for a long enough time. It's been too long since that's happened, is my point. And so right now, Janae and I are in a daily conversation to find the weekend now that we can be no friends, no phones, and just connect, even if it's an Airbnb in, somewhere's around town or whatever. In fact, I'll tell you what it is. This is what we landed on. Janae's going to put up the Christmas tree. Like, this is not a Christmas tree that the family does together. She's going to put up the Christmas tree, and we're going to cook a gumbo, and we're going to make the smell of that gumbo in our house with the Christmas tree and the Christmas music. And we're going to intentionally get together for a solid day that we're going to use to usher in the spirit of Christmas. And we're going to, this is an annual thing that we do, but we'll look at the photos in our phone. And Janae keeps a notebook of the events that happen throughout the year. And we'll reflect on those events, and we'll look at the pictures. So that's what we're going to do in the next week or two, because we're due for it. Yeah. We know that we're due for it because we know that that's what's necessary for us to continue our bonds as a family long term. Yeah. Right? So it's the goal, which is awareness, right? And then you have to schedule those things. And it is hard. It is hard. It is hard to make that happen, as driven and as hungry as I am, but we do it anyway.
Yeah. Questions. Steve?
You're asking me about a quote?
Co-living space.
Oh, co-living space. Okay. Yeah. So it's an 11-bedroom, 12-bathroom house. It has... When we bought it, it was an assisted living, and the kitchen was a closed-off kitchen, right? It was a commercial kitchen that the housemates and the residents did not enter. So we added on to the kitchen and basically made one big kitchen with two of everything. So we have a commercial refrigerator, commercial freezer. We have 2 sinks, 2 dishwashers, 2 ovens, 2 microwaves. We took the big pantry and we gave everybody, we have 11 columns of a pantry, so everybody has their own pantry. But just think about a boutique hotel. That's what it looks like. It's a 6,000, 7,000, I'm not sure once we added on to it, house. And every bedroom has its own bathroom, just like a hotel. You usually open the door to the hotel, the bathroom's to the left, you pass the bathroom and it's the bedroom. That's what this is like. We furnished the kitchen. We furnished the living room. All the common space is furnished. We have house rules. And we rent the rooms out. Everybody gets a private bedroom and a private bathroom. And we cover electricity, water, garbage, pest control, weekly maid service, YouTube, TV, internet. And we've got 5 rooms at $800 a month. It's all inclusive. And then we've got another room at $900, 2 rooms at $1,000, and 2 rooms at $1,100. And they get bigger. Like the 2 rooms that are $1,100 are upstairs. So it's just 2 rooms with a private sitting area that's just for those 2 rooms. Those 2 rooms have walk-in closets and soaker tubs. So that's the reason that and they're the biggest rooms in the house. So the smallest rooms are $800. We've got white, black, male, female, 21 to 77 years old in that house. And we've got widows, divorced people. And when I tell y'all that it is my most prized I just love it because that is like a ministry. It's the most. Everybody thought that I was crazy. They would never do this. How are you going to make sure they get along? Just all the things like what kind of people are going to want to live with each other that are strangers. And I cannot tell y'all how normal these people are. They're just like us. And it's so awesome to see them. They have become friends. I mean, they engage with each other. It is the truest way of affordable living. I mean, they have community. If you Google or ask AI, I love to make people happy. Like bringing joy to people's life is what I live for. And so I asked AI when I discovered AI, if I could do a couple of things that would exponentially increase the level of happiness in Americans, what would it be? And AI says affordable housing and a sense of community engagement outside of work. That's what people want. And every one of these people that have moved into this house needed that, right? From the widows, the 21-year-old that didn't like where they were living, couldn't afford normal market rent on a private place, needs like mentors. The 77-year-old and the 72-year-old wanted activity and engagement because she lived by herself in the country. She didn't need assisted living. She didn't need a nursing home. She's perfectly healthy, right? She just wanted friendships. And so now she gets to be a mentor to the 21-year-old and the 26-year-old and the 21 and the 26-year-old get these great mentors, right? Because they're young and they've not with their families. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. They cook together. They share. Some of these people's relatives come in and cook for the whole house. And that house, we launched that house in February of this year. You can tour it today, and it looks exactly the way that it did whenever we opened it. Like they take care of the property. It's clean. It smells good. It's taken care of. It's just been a real blessing to do that. So I'm very excited about co-living as an affordable house solution for people, and I love the community aspect of it, so I'm looking to expand that as much as I can.
Awesome. Next question. Courtney.
I do not furnish the bedrooms. Now, there are some people in the co-living space in other parts of the country that do. There's probably a space for that. The person that I learned from does not, so I don't. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm kind of, that high C and high D. So the high D in me says, we should try it. What's it going to hurt? I'm not opposed to it, but it's not been a hindrance from anybody either. So they bring their own bedroom stuff. I think the people that taught me think it brings a sense of permanency to it, right? Like it's their own stuff, so it makes them a little more connected and tethered to the place. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. We just had our first person that moved out. She initially signed a 6-month lease. She extended it maybe 3 months, but she's from the Philippines. She loves community living, and she also loves to travel, so she's just going to move to another state and find another co-living house. It's nothing against this one, but she just likes to be on the go. And she brought her own furniture. Outside of that, nobody has moved out except for those that we've had to ask to leave because they weren't a good fit once they moved in.
Good stuff. Next question.
It's the DISC behavior profile, DISC. You can, there's multiple free versions of it, but it's a behavior profile assessment, and it gives people that work with people an objective way of describing behavior traits, right? A high D is very direct, dominant personality. A high C is very analytical and kind of perfectionist, right? A high I is gregarious and the life of the party, and a high S is somebody that's even kill. They, like my wife, she's a dental hygienist by trade. She's an SC. She likes the same schedule every single day. She likes her tools in the same order. She starts in the same part of the mouth when she's cleaning teeth, and it's the same thing every 40 minutes. Yeah, I would go crazy in that space, right? And she goes crazy living in my space. So it's just an objective way to handle behaviors and personality traits, which is a very useful tool in managing people or motivating people, working with people, helping people to unlock some potential, right? An overextension of a strength can become a weakness. So if you're too much of a high D, then it might be chaos all the time, right? If you're too much of a high C, you never get anywhere because you never take action. So you need a good balance. And so when you're building a team, you want to have a well-balanced team with people on both sides of the spectrum.
Good deal. Court.
I would tell you two scenarios that that can be done. Tell me this: where are you at in your investment world? Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, yep. So I'll give you an example. This is I'm asking about where you're at because this might be a more frequent example. But I bought a house that was I wanted to buy the house and then owner finance it to an end user. It was a good property for that. It wasn't a great flip, and I didn't want to own it as a rental. But I knew that it was a great property for somebody that couldn't afford traditional financing. So what I did was on that one, which is maybe not the real answer to your question, but let me go through the example anyway. I put it under contract with the seller in one company name, and then I put it under contract with another company to buy it from that company from another company. So basically I had two companies, right? I'm buying it from the seller with company A, and company B is going to buy it from company A. Company B is going to go get bank financing for it, right? And I have it under contract with the seller for, let's say, $60,000, but I have it under contract with this company to this one for $110,000. And then I go to the bank to get the loan here. They want me to put 20% down, and my 20% comes from the inflated sales price of this company to this company, right? So I go to the bank and do a double close, and I never brought money to the table. And then the third close is to the person that was buying it, and they brought the down payment of $20,000 to the table, right? So they brought $20,000, and that's how I walked away from that deal with it tied up, bank financing, walked away with some cash, and it cash flows every month by $300 a month, and I don't even own that property. They take care of the maintenance because they bought it sub to my deal. Another way that I do it is I put the most common way is putting a real estate commission on it. I am a licensed broker, and also utilizing seller credits. So if you get the deal at a discount, you have to get it at a discount to make it work. So you add your commission to it, and that way you walk away with a commission check. So they may say for you to bring 20%, but you get a commission for 20%, right? And or you add seller credits. So the seller credits offset the cash required at closing as well. So a combination of seller credits and commission is what allows you to walk away with money at the from the closing. Construction loans too, right? So if you're going to do some force add, you get a construction loan and you go to the bank that's going to fund 100% of the purchase price. And then you put a commission on it, and so you get the purchase price plus the commission, and you still got the construction loan to fund the rest of it. Make sense? Say it again. You have to call banks. So it's not rare. I mean, maybe it is rare, but banks are doing it. They're doing it. And you don't necessarily pitch the deal that way either, right? You just, here's the purchase agreement, right? And this is what I want. Let's make it happen. And especially once you get a good working relationship with the bank, you got to call the banks. Because, look, two of these deals are 30-year AM commercial loans. So the payment is lower too, right? Not a lot of banks do that, but you get on the phone, you call banks, you can find some that'll do it.
Yeah. Well, why? How can we get in touch with you? Once you leave out,
you can call me on my cell or shoot me a text if you want to. It's 225-235-7223. And then I'm rebranding my website, WyattGraves.com. And we really want to start pushing that because we're going to put all of our businesses and all of the opportunities that we have under that one website. So if you want to be an investor with us, we'll have a spot on the website for that. You want to be a wholesaler, right? You can submit deals there. You want to be a buyer, a housemate, a partner, you got a business you want to partner with, whatever. It's all going to be under that website, WyattGraves.com.
And what's next for you? How can the group help you get to that next level? You looking to level up? How can we help?
We're always looking for investors.
Okay.
Always looking for investors. Always looking for deal flow.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the three pieces of deals or three kinds of deals that we're looking for: raw land that I can build spec houses on, multifamily deals, or service-based businesses that are for sale. We want to get into the service-based business realm that services any of our residents or ourselves as a property owner. So whatever that might look like, we're interested. I think that I'm interested. There is no think. I am interested in buying a staffing company.
Okay.
And some kind of technical school, technical college, so that we can start building our pipeline with contractors and employees that come work with us and or place them in jobs within the connections that we have.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Wyatt, for coming out. You going to stick around for a little while, shake hands?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Wyatt.
Thank you.